Waiting when we came in to ask her to adjudicate. She kept her finger in the book to mark her place the whole time we talked, and so I knew JC didn't have much of a chance. She was just waiting for us to leave. "What I don't understand, John," my mother said to JC, she was the only one who called him by his real name, "is why it should bother you if Doug wants to wear sideburns." "Mother," JC said. He was forever explaining life to her, and she never got it. "This isn't a costume party. No one else is going to be pretending to be someone else. He's supposed to just come in a jacket and tie and dance, and he isn't even wearing a tie." "And that bothers you?" she asked in her gentle, high-pitched voice. "Of course," he said. She thought for a moment. "Is it that you're ashamed of him?" This was hard for JC to answer. He knew by my mother's tone that he ought to be above such pettiness. Finally, he said, "It's not that I'm ashamed. I'm just trying to protect him. He's going to be sorry. He looks like such a jerk and he doesn't even know it. He doesn't understand the implications." There was a moment of silence while we all took this in. Then my mother turned to me. She said, "Do you understand, Doug, that you may be the only person at this party in artificial sideburns?" "Yeah," I answered. JC stirred restlessly, desperately. He could see where this was heading. "Do you understand, honey, that your sideburns don't look real?" Her voice was unwaveringly gentle, kind. Well, I had thought they might almost look real, and this news from someone as impartial as my mother was hard to take. But the stakes were high. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. She pressed it. "That they look really as though you'd drawn them on?" I swallowed and shrugged. "Yeah," I said again. She looked hard at me a moment. Then she turned to JC. "Well, darling," she said, "it appears he does understand, so you've really done all you can, and you'd better just go along and try to ignore him." She smiled, as though to try to get him to share a joke. "Just pretend you never saw him before in your life." JC was enraged. I could see he was trembling, but he had boxed himself in with his putative concern for my social welfare. I felt the thrill of knowing I was causing him deep pain. "Mother," he said, as though the word were a threat, "you don't understand anything." He left the room, slamming the door behind him. My mother, who never discussed the behavior of one of us with the other, didn't even look at me. She bowed her head in the circle of lamplight and continued to read her book. I left too, after a moment, and was in my room when I heard JC hurtling past my door and down the stairs again. His rage had been feeding on itself, and he was yelling almost before he got into her presence. "Let me tell you something, Mom. If you let him go to the party like that, I'm not going. Do you hear me? I'm not going." His breathing was audible to me from the top of the stairs. He was near tears. But my mother's answer, which was long, was just a murmur, a gentle flow of her voice for a while. And though he ran out of the house afterward, slamming the front door this time, he was at the party when I got there later. He was dancing and following my mother's advice to pretend he didn't know me. The reason my entry into his social world, particularly the Abbott part of it, was so painful, so important to my brother, was that he had already fallen in love with their family, with everything they stood for. In an immediate sense, he was in love with the middle Abbott girl, Eleanor. She wasn't the prettiest of the three, but she seemed it. She was outgoing and sarcastic and very popular, and JC wasn't the only boy at Bret Harte High trying to close in on her. He spent a long time on the phone each evening talking either to her or about her to girlfriends of hers, who seemed to manage her social life through messages they would or wouldn't take for her. He was with her whenever he could be after school and on weekends. But here he was at a disadvantage because he, like me, had a part-time job all through high school, which the other boys in our circle of friends didn't. In this difference between us and the others we knew socially.